going off. I'm forever known as Handsome Cowboy from State Fayre, so congratulations to him. Whoever was running the social media needs a raise. They're kind of spit roasting things in these massive metal turning structures. Just everything about it was wrapped up perfectly in a little country bow. So this is a brand spotlight where I do a deep dive on a brand that's really made an impact on me recently and why, and what kind of learnings we can take away from it as brand owners or as marketers. You can check out other brand spotlights on my channel. They're currently as shorts. This is the first longer deep dive one that I've done. And I really felt like this deserved a long form video because it's a new festival, country music festival called State Fayre. And I had a lot to say about it because there's just so many things that we can take away from it. There's so much to learn from it. They really nailed it in terms of brand community and how to build a brand community, how to nurture that community. And they've had a really successful first year as a festival. How are we surviving in this heat, by the way? Because creating content, recording, whew. So State Fayre is a new festival. It's by Live Nation. I believe they did V Festival, and that's where they held it. They held it at the V Festival location, which is in Chelmsford in Essex. I think they also had another location in Scotland, Glasgow, but I haven't actually looked into that. So we went because it was my husband's 40th, and rather than buy him a present, which I couldn't think of a present to buy him, as something memorable, I thought I would take him to see his favourite artist, which is Dylan Gossett at the moment. And Dylan Gossett is a country music singer. He's obviously from America, he's big there. He's quite up and coming, quite new. And I looked online to see if he was touring the UK, and it came up that he was playing State Fayre in Essex, which felt really good because we're in Kent, so it's not far away. And I thought we could just go for one day and see him. However, I then looked into the festival and they hooked me in because it was not just a music festival and it was not just some small, artists from country music. They had some big names on. They had Kings of Leon, they had Skunk Anansie, which was a bit random. They had Alanis Morissette, who I've always wanted to see. And it was also a barbecue festival. So they had another brand that they partnered with called The Fume Pit. So they partnered with The Fume Pit, which is an already successful barbecue festival event organisation, let's say, brand. And they brought them in to do the food for the festival, which looked incredible. And it was so on brand for a country festival, very meat heavy. So Fume Pit felt really on brand for State Fayre because it's all done with these kind of fire pits, lots of smoked meat. They're big rigs that they're cooking on. They're not just like little barbecues. It's like things that you haven't really, I have never seen anything like it before. They're kind of spit roasting things in these massive metal turning structures. They're huge, and it was very interesting just to even watch people cook. And they had live cooking demonstrations where they had people on stage talking about how they smoke meat and things like that, so you can learn about it. So all of that appealed, and I was like, right, we can't just go for one day, we need to go for the full festival. And how they hooked me in is how they hooked in their entire community. They built a brand community from zero, literally from zero. This is a brand new festival, nobody's heard of it. It's country music in the UK, it is up and coming. It's now obviously been played on radio in the UK, that kind of thing, but it's a new festival. So how did they do that? They really focused on it being a lifestyle festival. So they really combined the elements of music, food and fashion. It was those three pillars that they brought together, and their social strategy in particular, I think, was spot on. So for instance, in the lead up to the festival, I saw them working with social media creators who were doing kind of what you can wear to a country festival, doing fashion reels on Instagram, things like that. But more so, the bit that really stood out to me was when I was actually at the festival. Whoever was running the social media needs a raise. Seriously, they were absolutely brilliant because they managed to talk about key moments that happened at the festival that we witnessed them, and they played them out on social media as well. So it felt really authentic, and it felt like whoever was running that social media almost felt like they were part of the community as well. They must have been having a great time at that festival, experiencing the same things that we did and the same time that we did, and then kind of putting it out there on the channels. And the chat on every post was really good because everyone was connecting with that. So for example, Skin from Skunk Anansi, as I say, that was probably the only random one that to have a kind of Americana country festival was Skunk Anansi, but I wasn't complaining because they're one of my favourites. So I was very excited about that. And Skin was just absolutely amazing, as she always is. She was great at getting the crowd going and talking to them. And one of the things she did was when she was live on the stage, she spotted a guy in the front row and she just kind of like stopped and was like, "That is the best looking cowboy I have ever seen. He's like the most good looking cowboy. He's distracting me whilst I'm singing." And she said something even funny like, "Even in my super gay self, I can appreciate that is the best looking cowboy I've ever seen." And everyone was laughing. He became a celebrity of the weekend, like literally. The cameras went on him. She went down to the crowd. She was like singing whilst having a selfie with him. And then from that point onwards for the weekend, like other people, we spotted him and other people, attendees, were like having selfies with him, being like, "This is the handsome cowboy." And so what did State Fayre do? They put a picture of him on their feed and they were like, "Here's the handsome cowboy. We need to identify him. Please help us. Tag him if you know his name." And then the chat feed was just like going off with people sharing their selfies with him. I don't know if they actually ended up identifying what his name was, but he's not forever known as Handsome Cowboy from State Fayre. So congratulations to him. So they managed to really tap into those like actual moments that were like stories that people would have gone away and shared. I shared when I left as well, and they put that on their social media, but they put it on like the same day or the next morning. That's how quick they were turning it around. So it really felt like they were creating. Oh, I've got a broken nail. It keeps getting stuck in my hair. They were really creating content with the community rather than for them. So obviously they were still doing posts about the artists who were like big names. They were like, "This is what happened," but really tapping into what happened at those performances, which I thought was really clever. But also they had photographers running around the festival the whole weekend, snapping photos and videos of attendees. And they really made the attendees the heroes of their content. So that every day there were new carousels, multiple carousels of attendees, like photos of people, what they were wearing, you know, and it made them the stars of the show. And I haven't really seen that before from a festival, where it's like you just get loads of photos of people at the festival on the weekend, and it felt quite intimate and authentic because it all just felt like you were almost like part of this community. Hello, part of the community. So they really nailed it because they marketed a lifestyle rather than an event or selling a product. And like everybody turned up in cowboy boots and cowboy hats, including me. I had my little red cowboy boots and I really got into it, loved them. And we were in the middle of Essex in the UK, in England. Also there was details like the signage everywhere, the decor of stages. So they had a stage called Horizon Stage, which I think was kind of like an up and coming artist stage with the name Horizon. But it had loads of bunting everywhere, like strewn from the ceiling. And when you looked at it, it was kind of like this, you know, ripped fabric, which felt really rustic and rural. But if you look closely, it was jeans. They had literally like hundreds of pairs of jeans that had been torn up to make this kind of long bunting hanging from the ceiling. And it felt like you were in a barn. It was really cool and just so on brand for a country music festival. And for a first new country festival in the UK, they still managed to get some pretty decent country music names. And they were so shocked though. They were coming on stage and being like, "Whoa, there's a lot of people here." And they were more shocked when everyone was singing the words back to them and knew every word. I just don't think they even fully expected the response and the, you know, that they got, but they've already got such an audience here in the UK. There's always been Country to Country Festival. Well, I don't know how long that's been running for, but there's another festival called Country to Country, and it's at the O2, which is indoors. It's seated. I've not been before. My husband has worked it because he's worked doing tattooing there, so he often does. He's a tattoo artist, but he does tattooing at festivals, because there'll be a tattoo tent or a tattoo area where you can go and get, you know, gig related tattoos. So he's done that at country to country before. So I have looked at tickets and it was really expensive for like what it was. But I just think with State Fayre, the UK has been crying out for something like that, because it was the perfect way to experience country music festival. And that's what I would say, it was an experience. It's outdoor, you're in a field, you can smell the barbecue, the fire pit going, you know, it was like, there's clothing stores where you can go get a new cowboy hat next to you. It was just, everything about it was wrapped up perfectly in a little country bow. So why did I do a brand spotlight on State Fayre? Because there's so many learnings to take away as brand owners, as marketers. The focus being, you're not selling a product or an event, it's about what can you offer in terms of experience, and that experience should speak to someone's sense of identity. So people wanting to experience that country music lifestyle, more than just seeing their favourite artist as a singular person. They want to experience the food, the fashion, the lifestyle, being outdoors on a hot summer's day in a field, surrounded by trees, surrounded by barbecues. That was memorable. It was an experience. It wasn't just going to see a gig. I'll be doing more brand spotlights and more brand strategy content, so make sure you follow me. I'll also be sharing my favourite podcasts, books, TV series as someone who is a mum and a brand marketer.